everyone, my name is Dillon Gonzalez. I'm the editorial director of GeekVibesNation.com and also a co-host of the Home Dance Film Festival podcast. And welcome to a brand new episode of No Streaming Required, your weekly deep dive into all the latest and greatest of the world of physical media. I would like to wish everyone a very happy new year. I hope everyone is having a fantastic start to their 2025. We have a terrific episode in store for you, which I think just kind of is a signal for how great this year is going to be in physical media. We have titles from Vinegar Syndrome, Era Video, the Criterion Collection, Deaf Crocodile, Kino Classics, and more. There's a little bit of something to go around for everyone, and there are several titles in here that are some of the most highly requested titles that I've seen in physical media, and they are finally hitting for audiences. So I'm excited to delve into those, and I'm going to start with one of those, and that is the 4K Ultra HD debut of Looking for Mr. Goodbar from Vinegar Syndrome. Now, this has been, like I said, one of the most highly requested titles that I can think of. This has never even received a Blu-ray release for a very important reason, which I'll get into in just a little bit, but just a little background for those who don't know. This is a title starring Diane Keaton as a woman who, it spans from like her college years into like her young adult years of like post-college, where she becomes a school teacher, and during this time she really experiences kind of a sexual awakening, because you know that she had like scoliosis and stuff, like issues whenever she was younger, and now that she's kind of past all that, she is really kind of like swinging full force into the dating game, and a lot of this can really lead down some kind of problematic relationships and darker territory and lusting after men who are not the best towards her. This is based on a novel that was inspired by a real life event. I won't kind of talk about what that is because I don't want to give any spoilers, but it's kind of just based on this event that it's a very dark movie, but it's also just very intriguing and engaging, and it just really hooks you from the beginning to end. It's also very strangely a very festive movie. There's a lot of scenes that take place around Christmas or New Year's Eve. So I watched this like New Year's Day, and I felt still in the festive mood, and this would really hit the spot. You can kind of see the reversible cover art here. And there is a kind of deluxe edition through Vinegar Syndrome. I think there's still some copies left, where you'll get like a nice case, like hard case and stuff, and it will come with a booklet. This is just a standard edition for those who are interested. But this is a movie that has been held up on physical media for music rights issues, and it was unsure if Paramount would ever be able to clear certain things, and it's interesting that this has almost been completely cleared, save for I think one incidental music cue in the background could not be cleared, but all the other music is intact now, and it is finally getting the release that it deserves. It's a really great movie. It's, like I said, it is pretty dark, and like it will leave you kind of with a sunken feeling in your stomach, but if you're not bothered by that, it is a really, really great movie. Great performance from Diane Keaton. I think this probably should have been her Oscar-winning performance. Just like a great narrative structure. Everything goes along at a really good pace. It's a little over 2 hours, like 2 hours and 15 minutes, but it doesn't feel it. It really keeps up a good pace, and just it's really well written. Just a really great movie, and I understand now, watching it, why this has been so highly requested for so many years. And how did Vinegar Syndrome do with it now that they have released it? Really great, with a caveat. It has been restored from a 4K. It's a 4K restoration of the 35mm original camera negative in Dolby Vision. It looks fantastic as far as the restoration goes. It's very natural. You have the natural film grain. Everything looks clear. There's no lingering specks or anything like that. The colors are really great. Any of like the holiday festive lighting looks really great. And whenever it's supposed to be kind of drab and dark, everything, it holds up very well. Good contrast levels, deep black levels, no blown highlights. Everything is just handled very well. And like I said, the original soundtrack, save for one song, is intact in the original mono, and that also sounds really great. The one caveat that I do want to mention is in the initial batch that was sent out, there is a problem for those who watch the 4K with Dolby Vision. There is a problem about 10 minutes before the end of the movie where it just kind of, the disc will hang up and just not finish playing. If you are watching this in HDR10, you will not have that issue. And obviously, with no HDR on the Blu-ray, if you watch the Blu-ray, there's no issue with that. It's just whenever you're watching with Dolby Vision, there is an issue. Vinegar Syndrome is aware of this. They are going to get replacement copies, hopefully as soon as February. It's not quite clear. But if you have ordered this and you have not heard from Vinegar Syndrome regarding this, you can contact their customer service, but you should be receiving this automatically. Or if you've ordered from an indie retailer, maybe reach out to Vinegar Syndrome. I'll have the same information in my written review as well. But they are going to make it right, and just this is just like a thing that got missed during quality control, because Dolby Vision is not usually a format that is used with a lot of Vinegar Syndrome releases. It's mostly HDR10. They've started introducing it more and more in recent months and stuff, and the occasional title beforehand. This is just kind of a development that they didn't foresee. But otherwise, it's a really great release. It's been handled with a lot of care. There's some great special features on there, including there's a commentary track, an interview, a radio interview, a visual essay, and the visual essay is about the obscenity trial that following its theatrical distribution in Utah, and it's like a 7-part, 35-ish minutes visual essay about this kind of obscenity trial. That's really interesting. So if you have been waiting for this to hit physical media, and specifically 4K, you're in luck. There's no separate Blu-ray release from what I can recall. So if you do want this on Blu-ray, you can get this 4K, and it has a Blu-ray copy included with all the special features and stuff. And you will be future-proofing. If you ever do upgrade to 4K, you will have this 4K disc. Like I said, there is a deluxe edition with like an extra like box and booklet and all that stuff. That costs about $10 more through the Vinegar Syndrome website that you can check out. So looking for Mr. Goodbar. Fantastic release, save for that Dolby Vision error, which they are correcting. Another Vinegar Syndrome title that I can pretty much say everything I said about Goodbar can be said about this, besides the music rights issues. Sliver on 4K Ultra HD. This has not been as scarce as Goodbar, but it has been given the same level of care. This is a Sharon Stone vehicle, and it's an erotic thriller. It is not up to the level of like Basic Instinct or anything like that, but it's a pretty interesting erotic thriller. It's about a woman. She plays a woman who moves into a high-tech, high-rise apartment, where the apartment she is moving into is of a woman who we see at the beginning of the movie was killed. Everyone thinks the lady died by suicide, but here's the reversible cover art here. But we know the truth, and she's kind of getting herself into a risky situation. There are some men that come into her life, namely Billy Baldwin, William Baldwin, and Tom Berenger, which Tom Berenger is also in Looking for Mr. Goodbar, and in neither movie will you want to spend any kind of time with Tom Berenger's character. But in Sliver, there's just kind of like, it's a movie really about voyeurism and burgeoning sexuality and trying to like let go, and how all this kind of twists together into kind of like a creepy crime tale. And it's a really good Sharon Stone performance. This is the uncut version of the movie, has been restored from the original 35mm camera negative, so completely uncut video in Dolby Vision. Looks fantastic. Really great colors, saturation, all that stuff. One thing I do want to note, this has been supervised by director Philip Noyce, who took it upon himself to kind of make this release his kind of vision that he had for the movie that he didn't have whenever it was originally released, in terms of kind of like some of the color grading and stuff. It's not overdone from what I can tell. I'm not like completely familiar with this movie and how it's looked throughout its previous releases because I never owned this before. But just judging just based on screen caps and stuff, there is a little bit of a like color grading difference. I don't think it makes it a mess or like any kind of just horrible presentation of this. I think it looks very nice, but I do want to be aware, and they do kind of warn you up front with like a title screen explaining what happened and how this was more accurate to his intended vision. So I know a lot of people are very sensitive about color grading issues. This has been done like on the request of the director, so you can either accept it or live with kind of lower quality previous releases of this movie. But it does look very good. DTS 5.1 soundtrack sounds really great. The Dolby Vision there's no issue with that here. It plays flawlessly, looks great. And you do get 3 new interviews, one of which is with the director. That's pretty lengthy. It's a little over 30 minutes long. A lot of these people that are being interviewed are not afraid to kind of point out the shortcomings of this whole production process in the movie, which I always appreciate a little bit of brutal honesty whenever it is needed. And you also get an electronic press kit and some alternate scenes from the R-rated version, so you can kind of see how they have been expanded and cropped differently from the unrated version to the R-rated version. The unrated version that is in 4K is properly framed and everything. It is the R-rated version that wouldn't have been cropped correctly. That's on the deleted scenes. So altogether, Sliver, fantastic release on 4K. Like Goodbar, you can get kind of a upgraded deluxe edition with a booklet and everything. This is just a standard edition, but depending on how big of a fan you are and what kind of your packaging needs, you can get the standard or the deluxe edition. So check this out, Sliver, if you are a fan of erotic thrillers. Heading over to our friends at the Criterion Collection, we have some great titles coming out in January. The first of which I want to talk about, staying in kind of like the mysterious thriller, semi-erotic side of things. This is the 1990 film The Grifters from director Stephen Frears, starring John Cusack, Angelica Houston, and Annette Bening. So this one, as you can probably tell from the title, is about a trio of grifters, 2 of which, John Cusack and Angelica Houston, play mother and son. They're somewhat estranged, but they kind of weave in and out of each other's lives. Annette Bening plays a very big personality. This is a essay that comes along with the booklet. Annette Bening plays John Cusack's new girlfriend, who his mom disapproves of, and kind of how they all kind of are weaving in each other's and out of each other's lives, and kind of get into situations with like disapproving mobsters and like them costing them money, and just like getting themselves kind of over their heads, and just like the dark places this kind of unfurls to. It's a very good film. This was one of the last ones I watched for this episode earlier today, and I really was engaged the whole time. Really great performance from all 3 lead actors, and this was actually nominated for a few Academy Awards, including director, actress and supporting actress, and screenplay. And I think it's very worthy of those. Fantastic performances, some really great direction. It's just like a classic kind of criminal film of just like people pulling cons on people, and just like honor among thieves and that kind of thing. Really liked it. This is one that my wife had been wanting to watch for a while, and it conveniently was announced right before we were going to watch it. So we waited for this 4K release, and I was very glad we did. This looks really nice on 4K. I've never seen the previous Blu-ray release. This does come from a 4K restoration of the 35mm original camera negative that has been approved by the director of photography. I've seen a little bit of controversy about this one online, similar to Sliver, but not a little bit different. This does not look exactly like previous releases of this film on physical media for a very important reason, is because whenever this was exhibited, there was a bleach bypass system technique used here that makes the saturation not as fulfilling, but it's high contrast. So it's a very specific look, just like that for cinematographers that do want to achieve like a very high contrast look, and just like higher grain, like coarser grain and all that kind of stuff. So the color timing and the overall look will look a little bit cooler compared to some of the previous releases, but it is closer to the intended theatrical look of this film, according to the cinematographer. I think it looked great. That means not as deep of black levels and stuff, but that is how it was supposed to aesthetically intended to look. The DTS 2.0 stereo has been remastered. It sounds really great. And just everything has seemed to be handled with care by Criterion Collection to make it look as the original team preferred. There is a number of special features, including a commentary track, a making of featurette, a new 21-minute interview with Annette Bening, which I thought was fantastic, a 75-minute retrospective that was made like a decade ago, some featurettes and stuff. So I've only seen negative things about previous Blu-ray releases that are now out of print of this one. So Criterion Collection bringing this back into circulation with a really nice transfer in 4K, Dolby Vision, looks great. I think fans will be very pleased with this. The Grifters, very, very entertaining watch. Another 4K release from the Criterion Collection. I don't think this was on a lot of people's bingo cards, but it was very welcome surprise. This is JoJo Dancer, Your Life is Calling. This is one of the only narrative directorial efforts from Richard Pryor. I do want to note that one of my spindles is a little broken, so my disc is trying to fall out. Just kind of like a little piece right here was broken off. So I'll be very careful, but this is Richard Pryor basically telling a slightly heightened version of his real life story. People may remember, if they follow me, that back in like September, October or so, I talked about the Richard Pryor stand-up special. I think it was Live on the Sunset Strip. It's out on 4K from Sony. The rare stand-up special in 4K, but it's a historic one because that is the one where Richard Pryor talks about him freebasing and setting himself on fire. And this film is really a lot, kind of surrounds that, and it's basically this comedian who is reflecting on his life. His name in the movie is JoJo Dancer. He's not playing Richard Pryor, but it's a facsimile of Richard Pryor. So he's kind of like reflecting, but he's also physically like inhabiting the space of his memories, so he can interact with people in his past. But you're just seeing a lot of these like flashes of just his phases of life and stuff that led him to eventually setting himself on fire doing drugs. And while we've seen kind of like self-reflections on your life before, I think this is handled very well, especially since Richard Pryor is not known to be a filmmaker, but he does a good job both in front of and behind the camera. It's a very engaging watch. It's pretty breezy. It's only a little over an hour and a half, but it kept my attention, and this is just one film that I had never even really heard of, but whenever the Criterion Collection announced it, I was very intrigued. This is a Sony-owned title, and Sony did oversee the 4K restoration of the original camera negative. One thing you can always count on with Sony is that their restorations are pristine, and that is shown here. Their 4K restoration is fantastic, in Dolby Vision, and it's no damage or anything like that, no lingering specks, very natural handling of everything. Dolby, like I said, Dolby Vision looks really great, and the original audio. So everything looks great, sounds great. You also get some special features, including an interview with Robert Townsend, who is the director of Hollywood Shuffle. He kind of talks about the movie. And then there's a Dick Cavett appearance that with Richard Pryor that is included here. So if you're a Richard Pryor fan, I think it's worth checking out to see this kind of fictionalized version of his life and just kind of how that kind of all plays out. And the Criterion Collection's done a really nice job with it. I do like this cover art. You get that booklet that I expanded. Everything good release for Richard Pryor fans. We have my final Criterion title, another long-awaited title, the first collaboration between Anthony Mann and Jimmy Stewart. We have Winchester 73. So this is a Western tale about when Jimmy Stewart plays a man who wins a prized Winchester gun in a shooting contest at the beginning of the movie, immediately pretty much gets it stolen from him. And this is really a tale of him trying to get his gun back, but also following the gun and seeing how kind of following it into each person's hands and how it kind of sometimes just spells tragedy for whoever kind of comes into this gun. And along the way, there's a lot of interesting people you meet. You have like Shelley Winters, Dan Duryea, a brief appearance from Rock Hudson, playing a Native American, which is yikes, but it is what it is. There's actually a featurette on here with like a film historian and stuff that talks about the depiction of Native Americans in Westerns. I think that's a very valuable addition to this set to kind of just like, it doesn't try to explain things away, but it just kind of puts things into context. And I think it adds like an important perspective on this release. It's a fantastic Western. Anthony Mann and James Stewart working together is just usually a match made in heaven. There even more titles from them that I hope to get on 4K. I'm crossing my fingers for Man from Laramie, but really great release. This is a new 4K restoration from Universal and the Film Foundation from the original elements, and everything looks really great. This is an SDR, no HDR has been included in this, but if you just want the full 4K presentation on a 4K disc, you do get this here. There's also a Blu-ray only version if you want to save a few bucks, but if you just want full 4K, even if it's an SDR, it looks very nice for Winchester 73 on 4K. You do get a couple of special features, including a commentary track, a 48-minute feature or kind of video thing on Anthony Mann at Universal. You get a radio adaptation, and you get that featurette on Native Americans and Westerns that I talked about. So overall, great release from Criterion for this long awaited, highly requested Western, Winchester 73. Heading over to Arrow Video, where you're going to a director who is probably influenced by Winchester 73, if I were to guess. We're going to Quentin Tarantino and the 4K release of Inglourious Basterds. Now, I don't think I need to talk too much about the film itself. It is a Quentin Tarantino film, and people pretty much know what it is. This is backed into a corner. If I was asked what my favorite film was, I might just say Inglourious Basterds. I love it. I saw it several times in theaters back in the day. It's just a damn delight, and I watch it quite often. And now, but this is one of the rare times. So this is the movie on a 4K disc with its own disc, and then you get a disc full of special features. The only special features on the 4K disc is a new audio commentary track. But this is a 4K re-release in that Universal, if you want alternate cover art, it's what I showed you on this slip cover here, there. But so the 4K release from Universal was received some mixed notices. I reviewed that for Geek Vibes Nation, and you can read my review of that online. I overall liked it. I didn't mind as much some of the grading and color choices. This is actually a recipe card for apple strudel that's mentioned in the movie. You also get this kind of playbill-esque thing, replication of the movie that's in the movie. So you got some nice additions to this. So that original Universal release didn't work for everyone, and so people are kind of wondering if this new Arrow Video release would kind of fix some of the issues that people had with that release. I will say this is from the same base master as that release. This was provided by Universal. Arrow Video didn't do any work on it. The only thing that would be different really would be kind of the encoding. There's no, it's in HDR10. There's no Dolby Vision upgrade. Got a nice thick booklet here with essays and all kinds of stuff in here. So, the about the presentation is just provided by Universal. So is this a night and day difference from the Universal 4K? No, it's not. If anything, I think it would be just kind of maybe just a very gradual upgrade. You don't have all the special features on the disc, and you said, you only have the commentary track on this. And generally, the encoding from Arrow Video is handled a little bit better. This is not a fidelity and motion encode, which would maybe make certain people a little more excited about this release. But overall, the encoding is fairly solid. But whenever just A-Bing it from the Universal disc to this new Arrow Video disc, it's not that much different. It's degrees, if any. In emotion, it's just very hard to pretty much tell the difference. So bad news for people who wanted just it to be fixed. I don't think that it was a travesty by any means. I think I wrote in my original Universal 4K review that it was an upgrade, but you have to keep in mind that this is a upscale from a 2K source, because Universal couldn't go back and just rebuild everything to 4K just with all the special effects and stuff and how it was kind of rendered. So this was kind of just upscaled to 4K, and it's even that initial upgrade from Blu-ray to 4K. I see the improvements from Blu-ray to 4K, but you will not really spot upgrades from 4K Universal to 4K Arrow Video. Where you will see a difference is not the movie itself, it's the special features, because Arrow Video has produced new special features. So including the new commentary track I talked about, which is actually pretty informative and just really draws a lot of connections to some of Tarantino's influences throughout, and just a lot of background detail. And you get 3 new interviews, including with the Tarantino's current editor for his movie after Sally Menke passed away. But he was the assistant editor to Sally. Got Greg Nicotero and one of the actors. I really wish we could have got an interview from Paul Rust or Sam Levine, who has small roles in the movies because they're comedians, and they are very funny on podcasts that I listen to. So I think they would have been a very entertaining interview, but they were not here. I don't know why I'm offering notes on what I would have liked to see. We get 3 new visual essays, and those are all pretty engaging and just cover some good ground. And you get almost all of the archival features. What you do not have on here is, that's on the Universal disc, is a 68-minute panel from the New York Times with Quentin Tarantino, which I have to hold on to that old Universal 4K disc. There's also a poster gallery or something on that disc. It's some kind of gallery. That is not on this. Everything else is included on here. One thing I do want to note, I have a Panasonic 4K player that I could not get like most, like there's like 3 or 4 things that did work, but like most of the archival special features would just not play for me. Like I would start it, get a black screen for like 10 seconds, and then it would just circle through back to the menu. I tested 2 other players, a Sony player, and then another just like Sony 4K player, and then there's a regular region-free Blu-ray player that I have. Both of those played them just fine. So I'm not sure if there's just an issue with my player, but just be aware that I had issues with my Panasonic, even just like kind of cycling through disc, like playing another movie and then going back, I still had these issues. So I'm not sure if it's a widespread issue, just something to note. Pay attention to the archival special features. I think like the first thing that's listed under archival special features will tell you if it's wrong for you or not. Also like the trailers and stuff, if you want to check, they wouldn't play for me either. So I eventually got them to work on other players. Just wanted to note that. So if you have the previous Universal 4K, I would really only probably upgrade this if you have tons of disposable income. If you like the packaging, like a nice thick packaging, and you want new special features like visual essays, interviews, and a commentary track. If those things don't really interest you, I do not think that the degree of difference will be enough to justify another purchase of this. Aerial Video did what they could, having not able to like create a Dolby Vision version or remaster things themselves. But the difference between the Universal disc is very minuscule. So I love this movie. I recommend it. I recommend this release. It's just like upgrading from 4K to 4K is more of a tricky issue that you will have to kind of judge on your own. Another 4K release from Arrow Video that's more clear-cut on whether or not you should upgrade is Incubus, because this is a William Shatner movie that has not really been the most widely available. I think there's been some overseas versions that you can import on Blu-ray, but this is a 4K version, which you should have your expectations in check. I'll talk about that in a little bit. There is reversible cover art. The only difference, and why I will not change this, it looks exactly like this, except back here, I believe the language is Esperanto, and that's what I want to talk about with this movie. Is this is a movie starring William Shatner in which everyone speaks this kind of archaic language, Esperanto, because the director thought it would be interesting, and it really caused the movie to kind of not be super financially successful, and just kind of disappeared for a lot of times. And it is believed that every like negative and kind of known existing version of this film has been destroyed or is missing and just unable to be found. What we do have here is a one remaining print that was restored. It's a French print that was restored in 4K. It is from a 35 millimeter print with a 4K restoration in Dolby Vision. So one thing I do want to note here, there are 2 versions, like 2 ways to watch the movie here. There is like a kind of, I think it's like 1 by 85 by 1, version of the film in 4K, which this was from a French print. So there are a few shots where you will see burned in French subtitles on screen. And most people don't speak Esperanto. I think most will be probably viewing with English subtitles, and those just kind of like go over that. But you cannot get rid of the French subtitles that are burned in a handful of shots. It's not constant. If you watch a 1.33 by 1, like a full frame version of this that is included in HD, not in 4K, you will see those French subtitles throughout, but with the English subtitles over top it. So just if you see the subtitles on the screen, just know they are supposed to be part of that picture, because it's from a print, and it was just, they could not be removed. But I still think the movie is worth seeking out, giving it a little bit of grace of like, because I'm glad this was not lost to time. It's a movie with William Shatner playing a man who's being, he's a good man trying to be seduced by a succubus who is tired of only damning bad men to hell. She wants to see if she can seduce a good man to turn bad and kind of like give his soul to Satan. And it's a really interesting movie. It's very kind of eerie, and it's not overly scary, but it kind of has like a weird, almost like Carnival of Souls-esque atmosphere to things that I found very interesting. I guess like this is from one of the directors of like the original Outer Limits series, and I guess his desire to shoot things in Esperanto does make things a little more otherworldly and just kind of like keeps you a little bit off tilt. Yeah, overall, I think it's a really interesting movie, and even though it's been restored in 4K in Dolby Vision, this is from a print, so it looks good, but don't expect it to look like a normal 4K. There are limitations from this being a print that makes it not look as crisp and clear as other movies you'll see, even black and white movies like this. But it still looks really good, and I'm glad that if they were going to release this, they did try to give it a 4K presentation that is worthy of it, and it looks good. Just keep your expectations in check. So you do get some special features, including 3 commentary tracks, one new, 2 archival, one of which is a commentary track with William Shatner, which is great. You do get the 1.37 by 1 HD only version of the movie. 3 interviews, 2 of which are new, 1's archival. And so yeah, good number of special features for this movie that was almost lost to time until Arrow and others saved it through this theatrical print. Final Arrow title is one with another couple different ways to watch this movie. This is Arrow Video's 4K release of The Cell. This is from director Tarsem Singh and starring Jennifer Lopez, Vince Vaughn, Vincent D'Onofrio. So we have 3 cover arts. We have the slip cover here. We have this version of the cover art here, and then reversible cover art is what you can find if you ever browsed a Blockbuster back in the day. You would have seen this cover for The Cell that's pretty much been on all of their marketing material since it came out. It's this poster of Jennifer Lopez here. So this is a movie in which Jennifer Lopez plays a psychologist who she is part of a team that has developed, here's a booklet here, who has developed a technology where she can kind of go into people's heads, almost kind of Matrix style into people's heads, and kind of basically try to sort them out and figure out how they tick and everything. Usually this is used for like everyday patients or like troubled patients who need a little bit of more help, like young kids. But in this instance, they are going into the mind of Vincent D'Onofrio's character, who is a deranged psychopath and who has a woman. His next victim is kind of, he is being stored somewhere. Vincent D'Onofrio's character is in a coma, so Jennifer Lopez kind of jacks into his brain and tries to figure out how he works, but it's her going into like a nightmare space to try to figure out where this girl is. And this is visually just all kinds of crazy stuff going on. It's Tarsem Singh, and if you ever seen this or The Fall or other like his music videos or something, he's a very visually minded director, and it goes to some really disturbing places and deranged and stuff. Visually impeccable and stuff, and the narrative I was pretty engaged in too. There's some nitpicks I have here and there, but overall it's a pretty engaging narrative, and I think it works really good as a thriller. And Jennifer Lopez is really solid in her performance. Vincent D'Onofrio though is the MVP. It's just like playing a fucking weirdo. But this release, you get a couple different versions. You get the theatrical version and an unrated version. Both of them have been restored in 4K Dolby Vision. It's only like 2 minutes difference between both of them, but you get some pretty gnarly shots with Vincent D'Onofrio in the unrated cut. There's also on the second disc that I showed you a version to watch in a expanded 1.78 by 1 kind of a wider, like a bigger filling. If you want to fill up your screen, you can view this version of the movie instead of the original 2.39 by 1. It's a similar, if you've had the Chronicles of Riddick 4K from Era Video, they did the same thing there. Just for, I think, some of their more visually dynamic movies, if they have a director that's interested in doing that, they give that option. So if you want the expanded ratio, you can view that as a bonus. It's been supervised by the director of photography. I think there's a featurette where he talks about why he wanted to do this. Lots of special features on here. 4 commentary tracks, 2 new, 2 archival. You get interview, visual essays, featurettes, deleted scenes, packed release, handled with care from Era Video for the Cell. Really, really great release to start off the year. I think this movie's been handled very well. The 4K presentation looks fantastic. Bold colors, just really nice saturation. Deep black levels. DTS 5.1 audio, sounds great. Really great release from Era Video. Alright, now we are going over to our Deaf Crocodile section. They are one of my favorite labels, and the releases they have that I'm talking about today are interesting because they are not new releases, they are re-releases that I'm showing off for a very specific reason. I have a trio of them, the first of which is Prague Nights, which I have never talked about before. This is my first time viewing this. Just for a little context about Deaf Crocodile, they were originally a Vinegar Syndrome OCN distribution partner label. Until last year, they went out on their own, started producing their own releases at their own schedule, partnered with Diabolic DVD to release their stuff. So whenever they were originally with OCN Distribution, they had kind of a packaging that they kind of had to follow with their guidelines. Whenever they moved over to their own stuff, they started releasing things in, I'll show this deluxe edition style here. This is a Savage Hunt of King stock. This was their first release in this kind of packaging. So it was like a thick kind of chipboard packaging with a case like this. It's I think it's a Canovo case and a booklet and everything. And compared to, and I have a couple, I'll show this off again here, but that's compared to this kind of like smaller release here, this kind of case. So you have what you're having here. There are certain titles that have sold out initially, and they are reprinting them in very small batches for people who care enough. And with these new slipcovers that are exclusive to these are not the same slipcovers that were offered with the Vinegar Syndrome OCN distribution side of stuff. These are new slipcovers for people who want to have a collection where things match case-wise kind of to these cases here. So you have a new slipcover that can, it's not the new chipboard box, but it is just these movies in this new type of case. You can kind of see these cases, how they kind of differ like in size and shape and stuff. So if you want kind of, I'll show this off more on the next title, but if you want consistency along with your packaging, this is a little bit closer to things. It's not a new deluxe edition chip box, but you do get the original booklet that was included and a slipcover option for those who are completists that maybe missed out initially. You can get this with a slipcover. This is one I have not talked about before. So Prague Nights, just for it's a Czech film, kind of anthology based. It's there's a wraparound story of a man being told stories by a mysterious woman, but it's really based around Czech folk tales. Really kind of eerie stuff going on, including one with like a stone golem and stuff. All these are kind of like eerie and kind of psychosexual in manner. Very interesting, and I like this quite a bit. But this was released a couple years ago from Deaf Crocodile now in 2023. I missed it that time, but I'm glad that I got to catch up on it. It's really great release. This does come from it was a restoration at the time. This has a commentary track, a couple of short films, and a 48-minute interview with the director's daughter. The director has written for other films, one of which I'm about to talk about. But Prague Nights is a really good discovery from Deaf Crocodile. If you don't have it, or if you just want consistency along your packaging, you can now order this new slipcover from Deaf Crocodile or Diabolic. I believe those are the only two places you can get that right now. So slipcover fiends, check it out. But it is not like the deluxe edition packaging that you have now with their newer releases. But the next two I'm not going to talk about a ton because I've covered these in detail in other episodes. But you have one of my favorite releases is The Mysterious Castle in the Carpathians. I talked about this previously whenever it was just this other previous release packaging. But now you get a new slipcover, which I'll show off here. I want to make sure, because that's kind of like the draw for this one. Underneath, you get, compared to the other one, just the type of packaging is what really differs. Same booklet, disc, everything underneath. I believe it's probably the same for over here. Yeah, so got that here. Actually different booklet fronts, so there's that. But disc-wise, it's all the same. I've talked about it before. It's just a really great movie. It's hilarious, kind of Terry Gilliam-esque. About a man who is trying to get back the love of his life from a man who's like kidnapped her. It's very wild and ridiculous, but in the best way. I will have my old thoughts on this movie in my written review, as well as this new look at the packaging. But seriously, this is one of my favorite Deaf Crocodile releases, Mysterious Castle and the Carpathians. Fantastic movie. And my final re-release from Deaf Crocodile is probably my favorite movie from Deaf Crocodile. Is one of my favorite discoveries of last year, and that is Dza Dza. So this is another slipcover re-release. Talked about it before, but it's just like a sci-fi tale about two Russian men who are transported to another planet, and they kind of have to try to figure out the customs and survive and all that kind of stuff. So this is in comparison to the Vinegar Syndrome OCN distribution release. So that's OCN distribution, and then the new one here. Got this here and this here. So everything is pretty much lining up to be the same. If you do not have this film, definitely check it out because I freaking love it. It's very funny. It's kind of similar to like a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and kind of tone, but it is just wild and definitely worth checking out. Just 4K restoration, great special features, commentary, interviews, visual essays. Just a really great release of Dza Dza with this new slipcover. Make sure to get it. Deaf Crocodile, they're one of my favorites, and they always just knock it out of the park. And just Dza Dza, I think it's very special. My next film is one from our friends at Arbeos. This is 2/Duo. This is a Japanese film, very minimalist, like domestic drama about two young people who are in a relationship who probably shouldn't be. They are just kind of going through the motions and just like kind of unafraid to kind of confront one another, and just that it's just really kind of a toxic relationship, and it's just kind of how this evolves, and just it's shot very well. It's very intimate and just engaging. It's a lot of just like moments, like long scenes of these two interacting and just over amount of time, and directed by Nobuhiro Suwa. And this is just a really great effort. This is, I believe, the first narrative effort from him, and it's just really fantastic. And I really quite enjoy this. If you like kind of like stark like relationship dramas, this one is very impactful. And this has been handled very well by Arbeos. It has been given a new restoration. There are still kind of lingering, like small things here that like lingering specs and stuff. A few dropped frames that I noticed throughout, unless it was just maybe a problem with my player. But I do think there's just a few dropped frames occasionally. And overall, just a pretty solid release overall. Good audio. You got a 68-minute interview with the director. You got a collection of student films and short films. The student film's pretty long. It's over an hour. But the short films are like 15 to 30 minutes. So overall, great release from Arbeos 2/Duo. Very much worth checking out if you're an indie cinema fan. Staying in Japan, we're going over to Eureka and their Masters of Cinema series. We have Running on Karma. This is from Johnny To with Andy Lau. So Andy Lau, this is kind of a wild film. Andy Lau plays like a kind of a overly like muscly bodybuilder man. It's like almost like comical. Like you can kind of see him here, how big he is. And he's like a former like kind of Buddhist person who kind of left his vocation because he has the power to see people's past lives and how karma is going to impact their like future and stuff, and how their kind of fate falls out for them. It's a very spiritual film. It's also a kind of like almost similar to The Cell, and that he's kind of using a spirit, like a supernatural otherworldly power to kind of hunt down a killer. And it's kind of zany at points, kind of thrilling at points. It's a very tonally all over the place, but overall it worked for me. It's just kind of seeing Andy Lau in kind of this like big hulking, like exaggerated state. Took a little bit to get used to, but I was on board by the end. And there's an element of a little bit like doomed romance at times. Overall, good release. You get a new 2K restoration from Eureka. Looks pretty good. It's a little soft here and there, but overall it's a pretty good restoration. 2 commentary tracks, interview, making of. Eureka, they handle Asian cinema very well, and this is another example of some good work put in by them. Heading over to 88 Films, staying in Japan, we have Love and Crime. So this is a rare film rare release from them that has an OBI strip. That's usually reserved from Radiance Films, which I will be talking about in just a second. If you remove that, you can see the full extent of the artwork and all of its disgusting glory. And you can see that there. And you also get the rare Blu-ray DVD combo from them. So I think this is maybe because it's never been released on physical media before. Maybe they're wanting to capitalize on people who didn't have, like, who may want it on DVD. But you can see the reversible cover art here. If you don't want that very colorful version, you can have that. This is another anthology film. This is mostly about women throughout history who have committed crimes and stuff, and just it's like kind of a man trying to figure out like what makes women commit crimes, and you see him like kind of researching and then reflecting on a lot of these crimes. One of which is the woman who whose story was depicted in the highly controversial film In the Realm of the Senses. And what's really wild about that particular story is the real life woman who that was inspired by is in this movie, like documentary-esque. Yeah, that's probably the most insane part of this. It's a very tawdry film, but overall I liked it for the most part. A lot of violence, a lot of nudity. What lost me is most of this film is about women criminals, but there's one section in black and white where you go to just like your everyday psychopathic male like rapist killer, and you just see him kind of like, you have like a section of the movie where he's just like finding women, kind of like taking them into secluded places, raping them and killing them. And I think that really kind of goes against the spirit of what this film was trying to do. And it just really kind of took me out of things because it just kind of, it's so grotesque. And I think the thesis of this movie is about women who kill, and just seeing women get brutalized like they are all the time in film and history really just kind of upsets the apple cart, really, of just like what this movie should be striving to do, which is just trying to like get to the reasons of why women kill or commit crimes. And there's some interesting things in here. Otherwise, it's just that kind of left like kind of a sour taste in my mouth. Otherwise, it's a pretty solid movie. And it's been treated well on Blu-ray from 88 Films. You get an HD transfer. I don't know, I don't see like 2K or 4K restoration listed anywhere. It looks pretty solid. I had no issues with it. Commentary track, a new introduction, some stills, and a trailer. So not super deep, but what is there is very valuable. So 88 Films, Love and Crime. Worth it if you like something a little bit violent, a little bit tawdry, just like go for it. Now heading over to Radiance Films with their, where I first saw an OBI strip, we have their new one, Underworld Beauty. This is another film from them from Seijun Suzuki, who I talked about a little while ago. I think he did Tattooed Life, if I'm not mistaken, from Radiance. So without the OBI strip, this is what things look like here. And then I'll show you the interior reversible art as well to kind of give you a sense of that. So you get the booklet here. This one is about a criminal who has stashed some diamonds before going into prison, and whenever he gets out of prison, he tries to retrieve them, and things kind of go awry, and he ends up like collaborating with the sister of his old partner, and there's a bunch of people after the loot, and things just kind of go awry. It's really solid movie. It's Suzuki's really delving into kind of his stylistic rebellion that he does in a lot of his movies. It's very tonally nimble. There's a lot of like lighthearted stuff that's going on here to go along with like kind of the seedy criminal stuff going on. It's a really good movie. So this has been given a 4K restoration. Looks very good, nice, consistent, no blemishes or anything like that. It holds up very well. You do get some interviews and one interview, and then an additional short film from Suzuki that runs about like 45 minutes. I think some people consider it a feature, called Love Letter. That also looks pretty solid. That one also comes with a commentary track. The feature film doesn't, but that Love Letter does. So from Radiance Films, Underworld Beauty is a winner. But as much as I love this one, my next film from Radiance was my favorite from them, and that is Weak Spot. This is a film, this is a French film, and let me remove the OBI strip. I really like this cover art too. It's really interesting. So here is the cover art without the OBI strip. I think that's quite beautiful. And then underneath, I'll show you after I show off the booklet. So it's a French film, and it starts super compellingly. It starts off with a man who he is in a cafe one day, and he ends up getting picked up by like the secret police and accused of being like anti-government, just because he kind of got into an argument with a man who was a known opponent of the government. So people think he was sending like a secret code to this man throughout the argument. So it's just like wrongfully imprisoned and by like a fascist government kind of tale. And then it kind of goes into almost like a buddy movie where one of his captors who is transporting him he's getting in a little bit of hot water himself, and just like their dynamic evolving over the course of the trip. And there's like another third party who staunchly with the government, and how that all kind of works together. And just like this is really just going to kind of like fascism and all kinds of those themes that I find very interesting. It's just very engaging. It ends with a gut punch. Just a really great movie. New 4K restoration from Studio Canal. Looks great. Everything holds up sound wise. You get a commentary track and 2 interviews. Love this movie. One of my favorite discoveries of this week. Weak spot. Definitely make sure to check it out if you're a fan of Radiance films, which you should be because they're one of the best in the game. I spoke about a couple of like nearly lost films. This one is another such occasion. This is from Liberation Hall. This is from filmmaker Paul Bartel, and this is Shelf Life. It's a really wild movie from, I believe, 93. It's about here's like the credits that come along with it and stuff. It's about a family it's a mother and father who take their 3 young children underground after Kennedy is assassinated, because they're kind of been prepping for something bad to happen in society. So they go 40 feet down into the ground, into their shelter, after Kennedy is assassinated. Fast forward 30 years later, the kids are grown, and the parents are dead, and all the kids have been pretty much in that shelter growing up. So whatever their parents were able to teach them and what they were able to learn from television. And this leads into some really weird territory. I found very engaging and just like wonderfully weird and darkly funny. It's a really dark comedy, satire, wild stuff. These performances are very committed. You have some performers that you will have seen in like some Tim Burton movies, like Edward Scissorhands. So you have Olan Jones, Andrea Stein, and Jim Turner. It's a wild movie. This has been only recently rediscovered from a surviving print, a 35 millimeter print, and the way this is shown, you can tell it's a print. There's a lot, like a array of speckling throughout, so pretty consistent speckling, and like not super crazy damage, but small things here and there. But speckling for sure is throughout. So there's very much limitations to this print, but at least like people are able to see it, and it's not been completely lost to time, which it very much was going to be up until now. You actually get a couple of special features, including a commentary track, and 2 Q&As that are pretty solid. Overall, Liberation Hall has done a really nice job with Shelf Life. This is for the weirdos that like just kind of like oddball cinema. Don't pass this one up. Shelf Life is a really interesting find. Going back to the silent era, we have a release from Kit Parker Films, and that is Charley Chase at Hal Roach, the late silent 1920 from 1927. So silent films, Charley Chase, spread over 2 discs. You got 15 shorts. One that I want to point out specifically is There Ain't No Santa Claus, which I was very glad to watch around the holiday season. There's also plenty of other shorts, Mini Scrappy Returns, Our Brunette's Safe, One Mama Man. These are just some really great shorts from one of the best to do it back in the day, Charley Chase. And just, they're very funny. They've been restored very well by Kit Parker Films and everything. And it's just 2 discs of just classic silent era shorts. Can't go wrong there. And they've been restored by Cinema Museum. You get commentary tracks on all of them, and a couple of bonus shorts as well. If you're a silent era fan, definitely check this out. Charley Chase, very interesting comedian, made me laugh quite a bit. So these are fun, 2 discs, great HD presentations, good work. Heading into my final stretch of films from Kino Classics, I have first up another John Wayne 4K. After last week, we got Hatari, which is apparently Swahili for danger. So John Wayne playing a man with a team over in Africa they're hunters, but they are not hunters for killing. They're like gathering animals for like zoos and like kind of like preservations and stuff. And this is a Howard Hawks film. So Howard Hawks and John Wayne, pretty epic runtime. It's a little over 2.5 hours, but it kept my attention throughout. The only thing that I was a little bit wary of was what degree of actual danger were these animals involved in, because there are several sequences where like rhinos are charging and like trying to like fuck up vehicles, and I was just very curious about that. I haven't really delved into it, but as a piece of entertainment, it is entertaining. Just John Wayne leading this ragtag group, a French woman coming in, a French reporter coming in and kind of like upsetting kind of their status quo, him starting to fall in love, all kinds of stuff going on. It's romance, action, comedy. You really begin to care about these characters and all their exploits. Very entertaining. I've never seen this before. I hear that the old Blu-ray release is atrocious and DNR'd to hell and all that stuff. This is from a new 4K restoration of the 35mm original camera negative. It's in Dolby Vision. This looks very nice. As people familiar with Kino's recent 4K output, the encoding can be a little iffy at times. This one's pretty solid. Maybe some of the skies get a little bit overly noisy, but overall things hold up together pretty well. There are some optical transitions that don't hold up as well, but they have not been nuked with DNR or anything like that. Everything holds up pretty naturally, which is what you want from these older movies. And DTS 5.1 and 2.0 sounds. I didn't notice anything off in terms of the audio. People who are more familiar maybe can tell me if this is the wrong like a down mix or anything like that, but everything sounded pretty natural. Commentary track in terms of special features and a trailer. Other than that, not much. But in terms of what I can tell, this is a huge upgrade from the old Blu-ray, and it does treat things pretty naturally, and I think John Wayne fans will be very pleased. Another 4K upgrade from Kino, we have Internal Affairs with Richard Gere and Andy Garcia. Richard Gere playing a very piece of shit cop who's dirty, and Andy Garcia as the man who is trying to take him down. And Richard Gere really is just a slime ball in this one. If you like kind of those older like 90s mid-budget thrillers, this will hit the spot for you. You also have William Baldwin again, after seeing him in Sliver, also playing kind of bad dude in this one as well. An array of other good people in here, like Nancy Travis and Annabella Sciorra. Good 90s thriller. This has been given a new 4K restoration of the original 35mm camera negative. Looks solid overall. not too much wonkiness in the encoding. Like I said, some small issues here and there. Deep black levels. The skies, like highlights and stuff, are kind of where things get a little bit more iffy, but this is not the worst that I've seen from the company by far. Overall, pretty solid, and this actually comes with some of the special features that were created for the imprint release from overseas in Australia. They have been carried over, including the commentary track and 3 interviews. All the existing special features that you can get throughout the world, they seem to be included on here, so that's a good touch. And the imprint release from overseas was only Blu-ray. This is a new 4K restoration, so you get the visual upgrade and the special features. So overall, really great package from Kino. And my final title, you know how I'm starting the year off. I got a Rage in the Cage, and that means Nicolas Cage in Snake Eye, the Brian De Palma film. I watched several Brian De Palma films last year, so I'm going to continue that on. And I have actually had the Paramount Blu-ray of this from a couple years ago. It's cheap, so I don't feel too screwed out of money. But of course, they are going to release this pretty soon after I bought it. You get a new 4K restoration of the 35mm camera negative. I can tell that it's a pretty nice upgrade from that Paramount Blu-ray. They, like I said, small encoding things here and there that maybe could be better optimized, but overall, pretty solid effort. I did not notice. This is probably of the 3, maybe the most consistent of the 4Ks. In Dolby Vision, nice deep colors, looks very nice. The colors are probably the biggest upgrade from the old Paramount Blu-ray, which is kind of a little bit of a dull, lifeless look to it. Nicolas Cage playing kind of a scumbag cop, similar to Internal Affairs, but in a different way. He is at a boxing match where a assassination attempt goes down, and just kind of trying to figure out what exactly happened there. Leaning on his kind of moral compass of whether or not he's going to be a good guy or bad guy, and searching for what actually went down. And you have a great cast, including Gary Sinise, Carlo Gugino, and others that not thinking of right now, but yeah, there's a good cast here. And Nicolas Cage is the right level of unhinged for this one. He gets a few times of like exploding and getting crazy, but he also knows how to keep it kind of play it a little bit more straight. But him mixing with Brian De Palma's weird-ass sensibilities, it works very well. It's not my favorite De Palma, it's not my favorite Nicolas Cage, but it's still very entertaining. For those who are wondering, this does not have the alternate ending that a lot of people can find on YouTube that's famous, like for what happens, but that has not been included as an alternate ending. I think Kino asked about it, but they could not find the elements for that. But it has not been included on any other releases, but just knowing that that is not an alternate cut of the movie. But this is a nice upgrade from the old Paramount Blu-ray. You do get a commentary track and a theatrical trailer. So I think it is worth the upgrade. If you're a Brian De Palma fan, if you're a Nicolas Cage fan, definitely check it out. Pretty solid film. And that is my time. Great selection. I hope you found something that you are interested in checking out. Let me know the title that I talked about that you're most interested in checking out. Share this with anyone you think might be interested in any of these titles, or just want to share the love of physical media with your friends. Make sure to do that. Subscribe to the Geek Vibes Nation YouTube channel. I will be back again next week. I appreciate you tuning in. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. But until next time, enjoy these movies.